Call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody here this morning. And if you could, please rise and we'll take a moment of reflection before we start the business aspect. Thank you. Mark, yep. Laura and I can share. Okay. The first thing I'd like to ask, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? This morning, seeing none. It can be declared if it does arise at any time throughout the meeting. Bring regrets this morning from Councillor Hergert and Councillor Thompson. They have some personal matters that they're dealing with today. Not together, they're just okay. Just to be clear there to everybody out there. And we'll move on. Closed session, Mark. We have don't have any closed session this morning, and no public meeting. Before we get to the consent agenda, I wondered if council would indulge on the agenda. We have a bylaw to move the first bylaw up, and if I can have everybody in favor of that, thumbs up on that one. Okay, we're going to divert, as I said, a little bit on the first bylaw. It is an appointment bylaw, and for those individuals out there, once you hear the bylaw, it will explain a little bit of the lady that is sitting beside me. Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 113-2017, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer, deputy clerk, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Pressure off, Ms. Johnstone. For everyone out there and those in the audience, the individual sitting to my left, Laura Johnstone, is the new CAO, Deputy Clerk of the municipality. Laura, it's a great pleasure to introduce you to everybody out there that Adam is going to project this to, and everybody in the audience. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any applause? Yes? And Mr. Crosby. Opportunity. Madam CEO, do you want to
Yes,
have anything to say?
thank you, Mayor, and Council and staff for the warm welcome. Really looking forward to the adventures ahead. You'll notice that I'm a little bit of a different leader. I believe in community building first and foremost, and that's going to be our focus as we continue serving the residents of this municipality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that. As you'll notice, Laura is it's very short and concise. She leaves all the verbiage to the politicians, and she just gets the work done. Excellent. I don't know whether, Don, whether you have it, but we do have a media release. If you want a copy of the media release and a little bit of the background from Laura. So Let Mark. I saw you, sir. I saw you, yes. No, I was not. I was with Larry McIntyre and up near the front with the fire. So, Mr. Crosby, I don't want to put this out there. This wasn't a bribe. Mr. Crosby had to use one of my Santa hats to give his Christmas cheer to everybody. And we have the hat returned. So thank you very much, Mr. Crosby. I will be, yes. You'll need it again. I'm going, but you'll need a hat. Okay, fine. We'll look after you on that. Keep the media close. Getting back then. Again, it's certainly a pleasure to welcome you here, Laura. Down to the consent agenda. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that items A1 to C1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Mark. And we'll hand out those motions so I can sign them and take effect. And that brings us down to communications from the mayor and councillors. Is there any councillors that have any communications? Anything that's happened in the past couple of weeks or forthcoming? Thank you, chiefs, for coming this morning. Carol. Councillor
Well,
Lawrence.
I think you were at all of them, but just 3 parades to honor Santa, Durham and Hanover on Saturday and Newstead on Sunday, and I believe they were all pretty good parades. Certainly the Durham parade was quite a length. Yeah.
Yes, was one of the larger ones that we had, and I don't know whether that's because of the weather or just the Christmas spirit is being shown more in the community.
Well, I might add, too, I think that's the largest crowd I've seen on the street in Durham for the parade. I also just wanted to mention, I was coming in last week from the parade in Arthur, and I was with Carrie Leatham-Rouse and Karen Robbins, who are former Durham residents and have now moved back. Carrie is actually an artist. And their comment coming into Durham was how nice the candle lights, Christmas lights are. They both said, and certainly Carrie, coming from Carrie as an artist, and that's her whole business is design, they said compared to all the other towns that have the white stars or the white snowflakes, ours are so warm and welcoming, and they look Christmas-like. So I thought, Doug, if you take that back to the BIA, there are residents who like them, even though the BIA doesn't.
Anything, anyone else? Bev? Councillor
Yeah,
Cuddy.
Mayor and I attended the parade in Markdale, and it was also well attended and lots of people, and that was last Saturday.
We could go Saturday.
We could go Saturday, and then I rode in the West Gray decorated truck for the Durham parade, and it was again well attended, so it was a lot of fun.
Very good. Anyone else have anything else? Good to see you back, Mr. Hutchison. You're off the crutches today, or
no,
we're still hobbling?
A few more days yet, and then I'll get rid of them.
Speedy recovery, Doug. Go ahead.
I guess we should mention that this Wednesday we have our tree lighting in Durham at the bridge. I don't believe the bridge will be accessible yet, but it's coming along nicely, and hopefully someday soon we'll have a walkway bridge to go across again. But the tree lighting is taking place, I believe, at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and after the tree lighting, then people are invited to come downtown to a few of the businesses, local businesses that will be open for a hot chocolate and a treat. So looking forward to that this Wednesday.
Excellent. Okay. If I'm stand corrected, I think it's 6:30. Doug. Bev?
Yeah, that's what I have. 6:30, and also just to make mention too that Thursday,
6:30?
the Newstead tree lighting in the Lions Park is at 7, and they're asking that everybody come dressed up in either Christmas sweaters or Christmas hats and costumes and things like that. So the tree lighting in Durham is at 6:30 on the 6th, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 7th, is the Newstat in Alliance Park at 7.
Excellent. Okay. Look forward to those. We've had a couple already, one in Ayton and one in Elmwood, have been officially lit up. I think there's a lot of lights around, so good to see. Anything else? Doug?
There's one other event I just noticed on my calendar. On Saturday morning, the 9th, firefighters are having a breakfast fundraiser for their association, I think it's going to be at the Country Corner, starting at, I think it's 8 till 11.
Yes.
Or somewhere along there, and that'll be before the Holstein Parade anyways, but in town at the Country Corner, the firefighters are asking anyone who would like to come out and join them for a breakfast, and I think they believe they'll have the fire trucks there and whatnot, so sounds like an interesting event.
Yep. They've done that a few years, and look forward to that one as well. Carol?
I'm sure you're aware, but Saturday was apparently the last day for Rob Leno with the Durham Fire Department. It was his 50th birthday,
Yes.
and he was retiring as of that day. So the Durham girls serenaded him with happy birthday, which he was quite appreciative. But I think it was 27 years when
Yes.
we had it must be coming up 28 years that he's been with us. So he's
With
had
the
a-
fire department, yeah.
He's
it
had
was-
a long, great career.
Yep.
It's- Yeah.
He said it's time to venture on to other things, and wished him the best when I saw him on Saturday as well. He'd been in and had told me one day, a week or a week and a half ago, when he was still planning, he said he still plans to help and work with the parade. He's always been the fireman lead on the Santa Claus Fireman Santa Claus Parade here in Durham, and he said he hoped that he could keep in contact with that. But yeah, his days of a fireman, he's retired and looking forward to other activities, because he certainly, I don't know whether he's missed in 27, 28 years, he's probably missed less than half a dozen fire practices and everything. He's been very dedicated, and wish him the best.
He's really served us well, and he also was the lead on the, walking her shoes and the red shoes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and he has got me into a pair of those on a couple of occasions, and
You can buy size 14 red high heels.
yes, you can. Yeah, yeah. I only needed 12s, thank you very much. But yeah, they did come in 14s, but didn't have that problem. Okay. All right. Good stuff, and a lot of stuff, a lot of activities still happening. Getting ready for the Christmas adventure coming forward. So look forward to all and everything out there. Delegations this morning, we have none. Any business arising from the previous meeting? None that I'm aware of. So that brings us down to staff reports. And the first one will be Carrie's report. And that starts on page 25? Oh, 31. Oh, that was close. Carrie, the first one is on the approval of the accounts. And I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, second by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 22, 2017 of the Municipality in West Grey in the amount of $712,950.45. The $2 million is not something that is every day, every account, but it was time to pass our collection of tax dollars off to not only the school board, but the county as well, too. And I think that amounted to close to $2 million there, transferred to those two, 1, 2, 3, 4 organizations, because I think we support 4 school organizations. So, any comments, questions on the accounts? Mr. Bell. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Carrie, just one question on one here, and I was trying to find it, excuse me. Canine control. We had a substantial bill from the Hanover Walker Veterinary Clinic. Just kind of run over, are we able to get, it's for $680? And
Do you want to, Mark?
I'm not positive which one you're referring to, but we do try to,
it's on page 4.
we do try to collect when we know the owner of, if it's a dog in this instance. If we do not know the owner's name, then we would assume those costs, unfortunately. I'm not sure, I don't have the particulars of that specific account.
Not knowing the particulars, I guess obviously the dog was injured.
Yeah, so that dog ended up being euthanized. And I don't believe Shepherd would take
Perhaps we can follow up with council on that.
And I guess my bottom line is we were not able to regain our fees in that particular item.
Yeah, it doesn't note an owner's name on it at all, but the dog was brought in and held and ended up being euthanized.
Okay.
I'll check that for council, but yes, if we don't know the owner of the animal, then yes, we would end up with those costs.
Okay.
But we do try to get that money reimbursed if we do know the owner.
That's fine. No, thanks for that. I just noted that's a fairly substantial one, so I was just wondering about that one. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the accounts? Good. I'll call the motion then. Question on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? There, that carried. Okay. Next one on your report, Carrie, is a letter from Municipal Affairs on Destination Marketing Program legislation. Whoops, I'm getting too quick. I went, sorry, Normanby Recreation Committee, the fee reduction request from the delegation, Carol Leibolt, that was here on the Recreation Normanby. Carrie's done some background information on that, and do you want to report on that, Carrie, or?
Yeah, so in 2011, we had done a reduced rate for our own internal committees that were raising funds, but the Normanby Rec Committee is looking for clarification whether the term internal facility rental rate includes the use of a kitchen, or is it just the hall?
And I guess Carrie's looking for, what was the intent when council passed that? Carol?
I would hope it would include the kitchen. They clean it up after. It's not taking a whole lot of staff time. And I believe when they, when the free use is a free use of the whole facility, I would
Right.
hope that, because most of the things they have for fundraising includes food.
Usually a meal,
Yeah.
correct? Any other comments on that interpretation of it? I believe you're correct, at least that was my understanding of it as well too, so just wanted to be clear that I was reading council the right way on that one. So you can, Carrie or Mark, or the CAO.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask that a letter outlining this and including the clarification on the kitchen goes to Aaron Culleton, the Rec Committee, Normanby Rec Committee Chair, but it should also go out to all the other ones, to Newstead and to Durham,
Absolutely.
for
Yep, to the
clarification. But the
three rec groups.
yeah, the request did come from Normanby though, so they should get it.
And I'm not sure, but I think the Durham Recreation Committee, that's the way they have been billed, so we'll make that clear. And even make it more clear, I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby confirms the internal facility rental rate of $100, which includes hall and kitchen for committees of council and administration. Any further discussion on that motion? Doug?
Just a comment, I'm just wondering, so does that really open up the door for someone like some of our Lions groups to come to us and say, because they do fundraising, not necessarily for the municipality, but they do it for local organizations, charities, et cetera. So are they going to come to us saying, we would like the same deal?
I would think that it's pretty clear here, for committees of council and administration. So it's very restrictive. It's only for internal Lions Club,
Yeah.
agricultural society and whatnot. No, they're outside.
Okay.
So this is very clear. Carol?
Well, I just want to also clarify to Doug, any monies that's raised by the recreation committees goes back into West Grey facilities. It's not doled out to other groups either, so.
Yep. Very good. Okay. All right. Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. So as stated, Carrie, you can let the groups know that. Now we'll get down to the destination marketing. Program set out by Municipal Affairs. A letter from the minister, and comes into force, in effect, I guess it did, on Friday. Any comments further on it, Carrie, or?
Putting it out there for council's information, we don't currently have a hotel establishment, but there may be some Airbnbs that are out there, but it is not something that sort of we have in place. Would take some work if it was something that we wanted to pursue, but I just wanted to let council know that it's out there.
Okay. Bev?
Do Airbnbs have to be, or are supposed to be registered? Like, how would we know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem, unless you go on
Put
the
them on a
site and
website
find
and
one
you-
around,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to know.
So there
where
is
they
no
are.
registration for Airbnb? There's no site where you go to an Airbnb place to?
Oh, yeah. There's the site, but we don't have licensing. We don't do a municipal licensing, so we wouldn't have any track of that.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it would fall down. Bev, or Carol?
Well, I was just going, on that issue, you'd have no idea when it was in use either. You know, it's not like it's an every night sort of thing. I just wanted to ask, though, is this a tax? Because in the past, it's been a fee. And when I go to Toronto and stay over, I don't pay it. Like, I just say, I don't wish to pay the destination marketing, and they take it off. So is this now, it's called a tax here, is it? Because the reason they could do that is it was a fee, it wasn't a tax. So what is this?
And I think some of the tourism, like the Toronto's or Niagara Falls, they have actual a program with their tourism body, and that is their destination marketing fee. That would come into, now the municipality would be able to tax and get a portion of that. So I don't know all the logistics of it, but it's kind of a new piece to it. Yeah.
Interesting enough, like I stay at the Chelsea, and it's no problem there because I'm there on a medical stay over. And so he said, you're not here as a tourist, you know, so I don't know if that has any bearing, but again, maybe because it was a fee and they had some.
Yeah. No, very same. Blue Mountains Resort is the same thing. It's a fee. Was there for a couple of conferences this year, and either ask for it back or, you know, basically it's a tip to the Blue Mountain Resorts, the tourism. Doug?
Yeah, I have a little concern when I read this. To me, it seems like just another tax, but I guess my concern is my thoughts were if the local tourist organizations were promoting this, and they were the ones that say, okay, send in, let us register you as a Airbnb, and then we'll do some advertising for you and whatnot. They're gaining something out of it that way, rather than us sort of doing the work and then giving the money to the tourism organization, and who knows whether they're going to do anything for them and whatnot. So I think it's better if it comes from the local tourism organization. If they want to start organizing them and then charge them a fee or whatever, that would make more sense to me, other than just laying on another tax just because they're running a bit of a business. So that's my thoughts on that.
Okay. I think from my interpretation or understanding of it is that there was a number of, especially with the Toronto Act, of the ability for different sources of revenue for municipalities. I mean, if you got high tourism and you, in this area, take a look at Blue Mountains, the infrastructure, degradation or stress that's on the infrastructure by tourists. How do you recapture some of that? So this was a way that the province said, fine, we'll let you collect and generate revenue from that tourism from Ontario, from the world, to pay for some of those infrastructure upgrades or keeping that infrastructure. It shouldn't all be on the backs of the local residents, just because you live in a tourist area. As I said, for the municipalities such as West Grey to get involved in this, we would be legislatively wrong. I'm going to go Doug and then John.
So, but my only thoughts are, so if they're going to do that, to be fair, then they should be doing the same for the bed and breakfasts and any other accommodations, hotels, etc. Would that not be the same?
Well, it would be, and
Yeah.
you could if you wanted to
applied.
step in and applied.
Yeah,
And
that's right. So I wouldn't think you should just hit the Airbnb people
No,
and not
it-
hit the others. So it'd be across the board.
Yep, it would be across the board. John?
So not wanting to muddy the waters and drag this out too much further, but we had a number of us stayed in London last week, and Kathy would have booked those rooms. Would we have had to pay tax on that even though we were just going to a conference in London? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I'd have to look and see if they have a destination marketing fee currently in place, and if London happened to have, this is a choice, municipalities don't have to enter into this taxation type scheme, but I'd have to look at the invoice to see.
But it was suggested that we could ask for this money back or not pay it at the time, so should we?
Yeah, I think you have to cancel it at the time.
Right.
You're you couldn't call them and say, oh, please refund us now. I think we're too late.
Yeah. Once
Okay,
it's
so
paid,
at
it's
the
paid.
time
in
of
the
the
future,
charge.
we have that option to
Yeah.
refuse that. And I'm just thinking going forward, like going to Roma, Ogra, whatever.
Amo and Ottawa.
Yeah, if you look at your
Amo and
bill
Ottawa, sure.
before you check out and ask them, or before, at the time you're checking out of the, I think that's when you have to decline it.
Okay. No, thanks for that clarification.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that? I'm going to take it that there really doesn't seem to be much of an interest in putting Kerry through to set up a program for destination tax. Very good. If we get a 3,000 unit Disney type project here, we may consider it at that point in time. Okay. The next one is a letter from the Elmwood United Church Cemetery, and it's here. Carrie, anything else on that, the downloading or transferring the cemetery
They're looking
because of...
for someone to transfer the cemetery to. The church has closed. They've sold the property with the exception of the cemetery, and the United Church doesn't want to look after it. They haven't been able to find a local group of individuals to take on the care, so they're looking to see if the municipality would be interested in taking it on, and they do have, as indicated in the letter, they'd be willing to transfer some of the funds from, I believe it was from the sale of the property. That's where the 50,000, and then they have a small portion in perpetual care and a small bank account, but they'd be willing to transfer that to us so we could use that as a perpetual care fund to try to maintain the cemetery. But
Okay. So I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, second by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Garry hereby approves the United Church of Canada proposal to have the municipality assume ownership of the Elmwood United Church Cemetery, including transfer of land, perpetual care funds held with the public guardian, and remaining bank account funds, and $50,000 for future cemetery costs. Any questions or comments on that motion? Yeah, it's still active as the report there. There's 100+ lots,
they
plots
have-
that are already
Yeah,
sold.
there's, still 100 and some that are available. They have 26 that
Or
have been
26,
sold
yeah.
and not used yet. So yeah, it is an active cemetery that we would be taking on.
Bev, first, and then
So
Carol.
just a question, do we have people under contract who do this, like opening graves, closing, all that? When a cemetery is transferred, does that get transferred, the care and?
Well, that's what we would need to look after, hiring someone to cut the grass.
Okay, so there isn't a contract with that that's?
No, that's part of their problem is they have no one that's looking after it and,
Okay.
Well, my question is sort of on the same level, but what about opening and closing graves? Do they have somebody doing that, or do we have to find somebody to do that as well?
we would need to take on looking after that. There is no one, there's no caretaker at the cemetery that's looking after anything for them. So if a burial comes, the minister or someone from the church would have to deal with it at this point without us stepping in and taking it over. But yeah, it'll be, we'll have a contract. We'll have to figure out who's going to look after it and
Well, my next question is, where are you going to put that in terms of council? Like, what committee is that going to fall under, or what department? My second question is, what kind of shape are the records in?
she said the records are in fairly good shape. She did say that there's a lot of records that they have. But yeah, no, it'll be, we'll try to, similar to the Ayton Cemetery and the Durham Cemetery, whether we can get a couple of interested bodies from over that way to volunteer on a cemetery board. But it's basically the same as the Durham Cemetery Board, the Ayton Cemetery Board. We'll need to abide by all the regulations just like that.
At this point, there's no one to
There is
form a
not.
board, so what, in the meantime, where's it going to come under? Like if you've got a
Council.
burial there this week, sort of thing?
Yeah, well, we would need to deal with that. Yeah, that's what they're asking. They're asking for us to take it on. Totally, yeah. They will transfer the deed over. They will do that very shortly if we agree to it. She said they've been taking these quickly through the process at the diocese, church diocese. They're wanting to divest themselves of these and they move them through fast. So it would, this is what they're asking, is that we figure out all of the issues if we get burial in there.
I guess I just have one other question. In terms of their fees and that, they should be looked at, because 50,000 is not going to last very long in terms of opening and closing. It takes a fair amount to operate a cemetery anymore. So I don't know how current their fees are, and I don't want to know right now, but it's something that'll have to be looked at, because then I think it has to be in by, is it March? A request to the ministry to raise the fees, so,
Yeah, and you have to give notice, you have to post it.
yeah. So we
But
should,
I would look at the 50,000 not being something that we would use, only the interest. Treat it like a perpetual care fund.
so you need income then?
Yeah, well, we would invest it, just like we
No, no,
would-
I mean you need income for operating. Like,
Oh, yeah. But if you start dipping into that, otherwise they've got 4,500 or whatever, that's not going to last
That's it.
long. In
That
perpetual, designated perpetual
Perpetual
care.
care.
But I would suggest that we designate the whole, whatever pot of money comes, like that 50,000, treat that as a perpetual
Interesting.
care fund so that it can help to look after the cemetery as long as it can.
well, then, any expenditures that are going to fall on the on the levy, aren't they, on the ratepayers? Because you have to have income coming in to pay your operation, other than your perpetual care. So there's no money there transferred for that? Or we can't use any of that?
Well, you should, if you start dipping into it, you're not going to have it in
No,
the future.
and they don't have perpetual care? Or they didn't have?
4,500 or 40.
Good heavens.
So it's, and yeah, we'd look at the fees. If there's a burial, the fees would cover the cost of the burial.
Yeah.
Interest on the perpetual care fund would hopefully cover the cost to cut the grass.
Grass cutting and
Yeah.
If you sell plots,
Small
that
maintenance.
would also help, but, I don't know how frequently, the plots are selling over there, but it's still active, but it's more akin to, I would say, the Ayton Cemetery for activity level, as opposed to the Durham Cemetery, which has a lot more activity. But,
Bev, you have a comment? And then Doug.
We really don't have the right to say no, do we? If somebody,
Just abandon it.
yeah, and
If they
and we're
walk
not
away,
going to
then
do
we
that,
absolutely
so.
get by default.
yeah, the
Yeah.
idea of them offering the 50,000 that they used or got from the sale of the manse
Church.
or the church, is that's an incentive for us to take it on rather than waiting for them to dwindle it away and then it's abandoned and we get it with $0.
But incentive is nice, but we really don't have, unless we're going to just say, forget it, we don't have a,
Well, but as you said, if we say no now, 2 or 3 years down the road, as Kerry says, it shows up, we absolutely have no choice then. It is ours, but under the Cemetery Act, and there's no money. That's the way it would be. So I'm going to go to Doug first and then back to Carol. Doug?
So I'm just curious how some of the other cemeteries work. I know Durham's still active. You mentioned one or two others, Carrie. They're not active cemeteries, therefore that's a little different situation, right? Where does the funds come to maintain
Yeah,
them?
like the Ayton Cemetery is active. It still has investments and perpetual care that it's self-sustaining.
Okay.
At this point. The activity level is low, but they still have some local individuals who kind of do
the
some
board.
work and charge very minimal fees for maintaining the grass there. We have other roadside abandoned cemeteries, and that is just on us. Quite often, those don't come with any funds. The other ones that we are the trustee for, we don't look after. We're just their investment vehicle. The Zion, Maplewood, we just invest, and there's the Lutheran, there's a few of them, but we're just their trustee looking after the investments for their cemeteries, but they're still active and operated separately from us.
Right. So what about Durham? How does that function? And we have a committee?
Durham does not have the tax base. It's self-sustaining as well.
Right, but it's under our jurisdiction.
Yes,
It's under
we look
Weston.
after Durham and Ayton currently, the Ayton Union Cemetery. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking with this cemetery, maybe, because I know being on the McNeil Cemetery Board, that there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of work involved in keeping things up to date, and with the accountability of looking after funds, that maybe if we're taking that on, maybe there will be somebody that would be interested if we advertise to say, looking for a committee to sort of oversee the, especially when it's an active burial site, someone just to get that part of it organized, but we still have the responsibility, so maybe that would free, some people might step up knowing that they don't have those, the liabilities of looking after all those things, so it's a possibility that
Yeah.
could still happen, maybe. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yep. John?
Yeah, thanks, and we've touched on a number of these things. I know that some of the cemeteries, yes, come with some dollars attached to them, and Zion's one. There's some other ones like McKechnie Cemetery of Priceville, Hampton out in Normanby. I guess they...
Bucks Crossing over.
Pardon me?
Bucks Crossing one just
Bucks
at the edge.
Crossing one is, I'm not sure if they're active, and I'm not sure if they have any money in them, but as it was
None.
duly pointed out here, I mean, we really can't say no. Question I had, they're offering 50,000. And that's a nice round number. And I guess if it's a sale of property, I was just wondering where the rest of the money was going to go from the sale of property. And I don't know if we And my point is, I don't know if we can ask for more long-term, because we know it's going to, for all these reasons, it's going to be active, whether we can ask for more money to potentially look after it. That's my point.
Yeah, from speaking with the Reverend McDonald, that's all there is. There is no more funds. I don't know where it went, what happened, what they sold it for, you know, if the church takes a portion, whatever, but that's all that there is available to transfer from speaking with her. That's it.
Okay, thanks for that, Kurt.
And I think they kept that 50 with the idea that it would go towards the cemetery to help look after that.
Right. Probably, Carol.
Well, I think if we pass this, that we should, as soon as possible, put out the word and put out an advertisement and seek to form a board to operate it. Like, your board oversees it, Doug, and they're the one that hire or look after the opening and closing and that thing. Like, all that's done for the Durham Cemetery here is the finances are, like, it's paid through here, it's administered through here, but as far as oversee and operation, that's the board that does it. So we really need a board there if it's an active cemetery. So I would say as soon as possible, Mr. Mayor, we should seek to form a committee, or a board, I'm sorry, it's a board.
Put out, we'll get this out first, get everything in place, and then, yes, you know, as I've just heard here, you know, Zion has a board, the Ayton one has, and usually they're a 3-member board. Yeah, Durham's is, I think, 6 or 5. And it takes, as Doug said, it takes a lot of that onus off when the administration, if the municipality can look after the administration, the kind of the operation or some of the placement of flowers in the cemetery day and whatnot can be run by the board. So, okay. Good discussion. Anything else on the motion before I call the question? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, so we're looking after a cemetery in Elmwood. All right. Anything else, Carrie? Any other? Nothing else at this time? Very good. Then that'll bring us down to Mr. Glacier. Brent, welcome this morning. And I think the first one on your report is the water report for Newstead water system. Seemed to come back very favorably. Good report.
Yes, Your Worship, and I have to give credit to the contractor that is currently looking after water sources. I think if it wasn't for them, that they do a very good job, very diligent, and so that score is very indicative of their care of looking after our water.
Good. Good to know that there's some quality water there for at least one product that is brewed in Newstead. Although they may use spring water. The second one, before we get down too far into that, the second one is Federation of Canadian Municipalities grant opportunity for 2018, dealing with the asset management program. I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby authorizes municipal staff to apply for a grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for a roads need assessment. Anything further or question you want to add to that, Brent?
Other than it's going to save me a lot of work and effort. This is going to leapfrog my West Grey's asset management plan with respect to roads, because it hasn't been updated since 2008. And this type of equipment that is being used, I gave you quite a lengthy summary there, but because it's objective instead of being subjective to somebody's own personal interpretation of road fatigue and evaluating cracks. This is going to be a lot better because it will actually measure the density of cracks. It's quite a elaborate system, and having this completed and then probably have this company come back on a I'm going to say a 3 to 5 year timetable to come back and go over the same roads again, which would actually provide another visualization of our roads and if they're continuing to deteriorate and things like that. Hopefully improve. Hopefully we'll start to see improvement as we move forward.
Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
So, question with that, Brent, is this just for asphalt roads, tar and chip, or it does include gravel, right?
No, it doesn't include gravel because every time you go and grade the road, it changes.
Yeah.
So,
it does do tar and chip though, does it? Are there tar and chip
yes,
roads?
yeah, all our hard surface roads.
Oh, hard surface,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, it sounds like a good program that you'll be able to access in the future too, right? They're going to give you a lot of data that's going to be there.
One of the important things is the pavement condition indice, and this type of program is very elaborate that will provide that information. The pavement condition indice really reflects on how good the road is, and that's where it will help me to set up 5, 10, and 15-year capital plans, maintenance and capital plans for the municipality.
Go ahead, Doug.
Another question with that. So is this something that you could use, like they talk about sidewalks, light standard signs, is this something that you could use like in some of the main streets of villages to say, yeah, we should have different signage, the sidewalk should be different or whatever, especially when we're going into Durham, for example, with a big dig, eventually that maybe they could give you some input there?
This type of apparatus has the capability of providing all that data within it. They host the data, so yeah, I mean, it's very infinite on the amount of data that you can collect when they go through the town with the apparatus.
Okay. Any other questions on this? In your world of networking, what uptake do you think is going to be on this? This one's a federal. There's $50 million across Canada. So we'll get our 50,000 out of it before Prince Albert or St. John's, Newfoundland, or?
Actually, from what I was told, the company LAS and the Street Scan have indicated that a lot of municipalities are very successful in obtaining this funding. And if council were to endorse this, we would be able to get in the queue. It's not going to happen this year because, of course, winter is coming on, but they feel that with this funding that the federal government is pushing out is going to, they're going to be very inundated with requests. So the sooner we can kind of get in the queue, if you know what I mean, the better off we're going to be. And having council endorse this today, I could pass along that motion to them, and then they would set us in the queue and help and assist me with preparing the grant or the funding application. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. There, Mark. The next one is your policy around level of service policy. We had that heavily discussed at Committee of the Whole and was ratified or put forward at Committee of the Whole that it come forward to Council in a bylaw for recommendation. Is there any other comments we didn't have at that point in time before we introduce the bylaw? Okay, you get off easy on that one, Brent. No defending of that. Good policy. Thank you, sir. Concession 6, Ganelg. Do you want to turn on your mic, Carol? And
I'm not sure, I guess my question it deals with sidewalks, but I guess it would be under winter maintenance. A lot of concern in Ellenwood I'm hearing about, and just to clarify, we're not going to plow any sidewalks in Ellenwood?
From my knowledge, Councillor Lawrence, we've never, from the staff that I've spoken to.
Well, didn't we
we've
always
never-
plow the main street?
We never.
Never
actually,
have?
Brockton only clears
clears their side?
certain spots. I think the bank, there used to be the community store in the corner, but they don't do
Okay.
a large swath of it. They don't do, Brockton does not do
Well, then it
anything.
must be the signs. If we've never done it, maybe people didn't realize, like, we've got the signs up, no winter maintenance. So it must just that the signs are drawing their attention to it?
Yeah.
We haven't done any sidewalk maintenance, or sidewalk clearing, winter maintenance for a number of years, and
It was-
it's always been that far side. That was one of the things that Brockton.
Yeah, I know
looked
that,
after.
but I always thought we did the Main Street down to the library. No.
I don't believe so.
Anyway, that's fine. I just had a lot of concern, but yeah, I guess it's because
I-
the signs, that's the first time for the signs to be up?
Yes,
Yes.
and
Okay.
unfortunately, I
That's the
understand the proliferation of signs in that community. But again, our insurer, we were told that you
Oh,
have
yes,
to
I
have
know.
some mechanism
Yeah, I
of
realize.
identifying the public that there's no winter maintenance,
Yeah,
so.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess it's just brought it to their attention. They maybe just
Yeah.
didn't realize it wasn't clear before, but I have an answer now, so thank you.
I'm not saying that a couple of businesses haven't cleared in front of theirs, but yeah, it hasn't been the municipality that's looked after that for 5 to 10 years anyways, and probably longer, maybe it's longer than that. Okay, yep. All right. A gravel issue on the Glenelg Road, concession 6.
Your Worship,
assuming
if
that's
you
what it
recall, Councillor Cutting brought this to my attention back in early October. I did respond back to this gentleman, and I CC council on the letter that I did send to him. He's responded back. Actually, he brought copies. He was in the office and personally directed a bunch of copies that I was supposed to hand out to council. I'm providing you his letter again. I'm seeking council's indulgence on what you want me to do with this.
Doug, give us an opinion.
I just have some questions, I guess, Brent. He talked as if, like, does this road need a new base? Is the issue with the base of the road that it sounds like it's got a lot of clay or something in it? Or there's some issues that way, or?
I've been across the road, Councillor Hutchison, a few times, and I've spoken with Tim. It hasn't received maintenance gravel in some years. In my letter to Mr. Kelly, I indicated that we were Tim was recommending placement of maintenance gravel in the spring. We weren't going to do it this fall, otherwise it'd end up in the ditch. So I just said that we were going to get to it in the spring. I don't, some of the parts of the letter, I'm not sure what he's talking about. We don't apply anything. I think he's a little confused that he thinks that we're applying sand to the road when we grade it. I think it's just a matter of the scarifying blades that stir up the granular surface. It's probably lacking a bit of stone on the road, but again, with the impending winter weather that's coming, as soon as it freezes up, it's going to be a lot better. It's just for whatever reason, that section of road in around that area is subjected to being potholed extensively, but other than the fact, that unfortunately we're going to have to wait till next year until we can readily fix it properly.
Okay, so there's not a lot we can do at this point, you're saying. Like, I was curious when he said about whatever they're putting on and scraping it off. It seemed like, I don't know what he was talking about, so obviously we're not sure about that. My other question was, what about traffic count? Like, what's the traffic count on that road, do we know? And how does that affect with farm machinery? Like, he talked about farm machinery. Do we know anything about that?
Again, I'm relying on the road supervisor. He indicated to me that spring and fall are very heavy with agricultural equipment, like normally every other road in West Gray. Traffic counts are less than 100. I believe they're around 60, 50 to 60 vehicles. I haven't got that actual information in front of me, but it's not exceedingly high. No, it's not. He's wanting it hard surfaced. Well, I'm afraid there's a lot of other people in West Grey would love to see the roads hard surfaced, as I explained to him in my first letter to him. But again, it's going to be based on traffic volumes. Like I told him, when we do our study, we determine moving forward with treatment of granular surfaces, it's going to be based on traffic volumes, and traffic volumes are going to dictate at what level of service West Grey wants to place on the granular roads, and hard surface too.
Yep. Okay. John?
Yeah, real quick, I'm very familiar with that section of road. I think that Brent, yourself, and Mr. Cook have done a very good job of assessing the situation, recognizing we can't do very much right now. We got a tremendous amount of rain. My road isn't any different east of my place than the 6th of Glenelg. And I think that take another look at it in the spring, and if we can make some gravel work. I do know the guys were out this past week and did a lot of grading, filled in a lot of potholes, did a tremendous job. Just drove over 3 roads yesterday that I know were in a lot worse shape 10 days ago than they are right now. So you've done a lot of improvements. We had a rough fall, a lot of rain. Yes, there's agriculture equipment goes up and down that road and my road and a lot of other roads, and with the wet type of weather has not been very good for the roads this fall. There's no two ways about that. It's going to freeze up, and now that you've got them graded, I think it's going to be a whole lot better. So I commend you and the staff for getting this looked after, and reassess it in the spring and go ahead. If we can find some stonier material maybe than some of the stuff that has been put on the roads, that probably would work also. So, but reassess it in the spring, and thanks for getting them graded up, because they're a lot better than they were.
So will we are you suggesting we bring some stone into Glenelg to find that?
I'm not sure if we need to import any. I think we've got our own, but I think we can probably find some.
Okay. Brent?
2 things, Your Worship. As council was very gracious to allow me the compaction equipment that we're going to be providing on the back of the graders will go a long way in eliminating this very problem that we're speaking of right now. And secondly, I'm asking council, do you want me to respond to Mr. Kelly again, or?
I think that it deserves a response, and
Okay.
maybe to reinforce what you've have said to us here today. Not that I'm wishing for frost or it getting cold from here through until the 1st of May, but it is going to, and that will help the surface. It is a gravel road, and we'll be able to make some improvements on it in the spring. I think that, as much as a synopsis as we can get. Okay? I can tell you I washed a car on Friday or Thursday and drove down a road in Normanby, and an hour later I should have washed it again, but you can go out and see it in the parking lot. It's supposed to be a white car, but it's more tan colored as it's been for the weekend. I haven't got it washed yet, so. It's part of the beauty of living nestled in nature in West Grey. Okay. All right. Anything else, Brent?
Nothing further, Your Worship.
Okay. Questions for Brent? Thank you for that this morning. Moves us down to Mark's report. Mark, want to deal with Ingersoll and how they want to deal with their neighboring municipalities.
Sure, just to summarize Ingersoll's letter, certainly the municipality likes to be masters of their own destiny, having approval authority for many different items and issues and matters, but in terms of landfill projects, certainly you're probably aware that there have been many, shall we say, landfill wars that have been extremely costly when approvals have not been provided for, and those costs can run into the hundreds of thousands, if not even millions. And then, of course, to be able to review the technical and scientific reports and data, we would probably have to hire consultants to assist with that. Perhaps there might be some financial assistance from the proponents, but that would have to be negotiated. So, yes, there are some concerns if municipalities would, such as ours, would have the approval authority for landfill sites. There's certainly some financial implications, so that's what I wanted to bring to the attention of my report.
Any questions? John? Deputy Mayor Bell?
Nothing really. We may not know all the story about this, and so I'm not willing to support this at this time. If you need a motion to receive, I receive this information, but I'm not willing to support this.
Yeah, we'll just give direction to receive. We don't need to do that in a motion.
Very good.
Any other comments on this one? Very good. We will put that down as to receive. Mr. Davidson's letter.
So the second item, our municipal planner, Ron Davidson of Ron Davidson Land Use Planning Consultants. Yeah, Mr. Davidson has been our planning consultant on a contract basis since 2006, with a remuneration of $65 an hour. That has not changed in about 11 years plus. So he is seeking an increase that is more reflective of what other contracted municipal planners do get in this area. I would certainly recommend that. Mr. Davidson provides an exceptional service to the municipality, very approachable, and he is very conservative, I would say, in what he does charge. So he doesn't, very conservative and very conscientious of what he charges. So I think we do get a very good service at a extremely beneficial cost. So I think, again, I would recommend this would be approved. And if council agrees, I could prepare a motion or a bylaw for the next council meeting for consideration.
Any questions or comments on this? Doug, Councillor Hutchison?
Yeah, I'd support that. I think, Ron seems to do a good job for us, and I think if you look at what he was getting, and then if you did a 2%, I think I figured out roughly 2% per year, it works out about where he's at now. So, 15
Over 12 years.
Yeah.
$15.60.
Yeah, so I think it's warranted and it puts us in competition, and I'd hate to think that we'd lose the guy, because I think he does a good job for our municipality, and so I would encourage us to try to keep him happy.
Very good. Well respected within the planning community as well, too. The only thing that I have on a basis from my position is the travel allowance. Could we put that in as the municipal payment, Mark?
Yes, I did speak to him about that. I believe he would be agreeable to being paid the same rate as the municipality. That changes every quarter, of course, with through the county. So I can mention that to Mr. Davidson. I think he'll agree to that.
Okay. All right. So we'll look forward to that bylaw coming forward then at the next council meeting. All right. Any other questions for Mark? Mr. Bell?
Well, I was just saying, if we could accept that for Mr. Davidson, we could also tell him that he won't get another raise for another 12 years. And if he's okay with that, then we can move forward.
Well, knowing Mr. Davidson's age, this should get him through to retirement. But his mentor was Mr. Scott, and he's going long past retirement age, so maybe we'll see. Okay. Nothing else, Mark? Thank you. That brings us down to bylaws then. And we have already dealt with one bylaw this morning, but I do believe we have another couple on the agenda. 14. All right. Two bylaws to deal with at this point in time. Bylaw number 114 is a winter maintenance service policy. Moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 114, 2017, being a bylaw to approve a winter maintenance level of service policy, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this one? And this was the one that in our package that Brent had laid out. Seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good, Mark. Bylaw 115, it's a confirming bylaw. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 115, 2017, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the December 4th, 2017 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Any new business? Seeing none at this time. Addendums, notice of motion or direct motions? Mark, I'm not aware of any. Need no closed session. Well, do you want to go on question period? All right, before I get to you, the deputy mayor is going to step in front of you. Oh, I have no idea. This will be a fun one.
I just want to make the announcement that most of you do know the warden's inaugural is tomorrow night. I would be most pleased if council could come. I would like to introduce council that work with. Council and Laura, I'm not sure if your schedule will permit, would love to introduce you to county council if you're able to be there. It starts at 7:30, and I do thank council for their support in this endeavor, and going forward, look forward to it. So if we are successful.
Very good. Okay. Marion, Ms. Ratcliffe. Just turn the side. Oh, there's a little button in on the side. There.
Press it harder. Well, maybe it's at the side.
Oh, now it's happy.
There
Now
you-
it's happy.
Now you're live. Don't say what you were
Anyways.
going to say because the button wouldn't stay in. Go ahead,
Marion
Marion.
Ratcliffe, for the record. First of all, welcome, Laura. I hope you have fun here. And regards to the cemeteries, I know that you guys have to, worry about the budgets and things. I'm hoping you're taking advantage of donations. Do you have your cemeteries on CanadaHelps.org or things like that? I donate to a cemetery over in Brockton, in the Granick Township, where my ancestors and extended ancestors are buried there, and I'm hoping that you're taking advantage of that as well.
I don't know whether, I can't speak whether Carrie has it on the registry, but I can think of at least the three cemeteries, Zion, Ayton, and the Durham Cemetery, have a recognition day each year, the decoration day, and a little service. And it is a time for people that have a connection to the cemetery. Invitations are sent out. And Carol, donations, certainly for the Durham Cemetery and the Zion Cemetery. I quite honestly have to say I haven't been to the one in Ayton. I don't know whether it's been held for the last couple of years. But yes, there are a number of donations come in for those ones.
So just say the CanadaHelps.org, it makes it easy for people that are a distance away to, take their opportunity to remember areas where their families are injured. Especially with these ones out here, these pioneer ones, where you've got, I've got multiple generations back in one cemetery, so.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we'll try and get that. What did you say the name of that was? canadahelps.org. Okay? Mark's got that. And we'll,
They do, it's just an online tool for all the
yeah, can make it designated. Thanks, Marion. Any other questions? Doug?
Yeah, I have one question, and maybe I should ask this when Carrie was here. I was just curious about, reading in the paper a little bit about the OMPF grant, OMPF grant. Did we hear anything on that? I missed the last committee of the whole, I know, so maybe you just discussed that.
It's in the minute there. We are down $10,000 from last year. We
Okay.
had anticipated it in our budget discussions about being level to what it was last year, but the 10,000, Carrie gave us that update that, you know, that's not going to be insurmountable or a shock to us, so.
Yeah, because it sounded like some people were actually going up. Some
Yeah,
municipalities.
there's a couple of
were-
municipalities, and
Going up, yeah.
it's just the way the formula is. Some, the pool stays the same, so some go up, some go down, as it
Okay.
goes out there.
Okay.
But ours, you know, the first couple of years, it went down hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's why we had that fund in there to adjust, to take the impact out. But Carrie doesn't think at $10,000, it's not going to, it is a hit, but it's not going to affect us dramatically this year.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions? Mark, there's no municipal act notices? No? So we'll hand that out. Ms. Hergert's not here, so somebody's going to have to step in. Oh, Bev, thank you. Motion number 20 to adjourn. I'll take that, and we stand adjourned. And thank you, Ms. Johnstone, because Mark had it at 11:30, and with your effective and efficientness, we were able to gain 15 minutes today. So congratulations to your first meeting.
you.